years have passed. The first part of my story is about how we were young and tried so hard to be little women. The second part of my story is about how we grew up and found homes and families of our very own. The first part of my story is about the silly nonsense of children. And the second part of my story is about the silly nonsense of grown-ups. But I should warn you that this part contains lots of blubbering and dramatic carrying on.
I can't say or do anything until he speaks first.
And sighing and stammering.
He won't speak first because Papa said I was too young to consider marriage.
Well, if he did speak, you would know what to say. You'd cry or blush or let him have his way instead of giving him a good, decided no.
Not so silly and weak as you think. I know just what I should say. I've planned it all out so I needn't be taken unawares.
Would you mind telling me what you'd say?
Not at all. You're 16 now, quite old enough to be my common. And maybe one day my experience will be useful to your own affairs of the home.
I don't mean to have any affairs of the heart. It's too much fun watching other people philander. I feel like a fool doing it myself.
I think not. You liked anyone very much and he liked you.
I thought you were going to tell me your speech to the man.
I should really say quite calmly and decidedly, thank you, Mr. Brooke. You are very kind, but I agree with Papa that I'm too young to enter any engagement at present, so please say no more and let us be friends as we were.
That's stiff and cool enough, but I don't believe he'll say it. I know he won't be satisfied. If he's anything like the rejected lovers I read about in storybooks, you'll give in rather than hurt his feelings.
No, I won't. If he should persist, I shall tell him I've made up my mind, and I shall walk out of that room with dignity.
Whoa! I came to get my umbrella. That is to see your father.
He's hanging in the hall. It's reading in the parlor. Why weren't we all born boys?
Father will be very pleased to see you, Mr. Brooke. Do sit down. I'll call.
Don't go. Are you afraid of me, Margaret?
How can I be afraid of you? You've been so kind. I only wish I could thank you for it.
Shall I tell you how?
No, please don't.
I want to see that you care for me a little. I love you so much.
I don't know.
Will you try to find out?
I'm too young.
Then I'll wait. And in the meantime, you could be learning to like me. Would it be a very hard lesson?
Not if I choose to learn it.
Please choose to learn. I love to teach.
No, I don't choose. Please go away and let me be.
You really mean that?
Yes, I do. I needn't be worried by such things. Papa says I need it, and I'd rather not.
Then I'll wait. Not say nothing until you've had more time. Don't play with my affections, Meg. I didn't think that of you.
I'd rather you not think of me at all.
Bless me, what's this?
And give my regards to your father. Good day, Meg.
March, I'm so surprised to see you.
That's evident.
That was Papa's friend.
And what did your father then say? To make you look like a perfect peony. There's mischief going on, and I insist upon knowing what it is.
Mr. Brooke came for his umbrella.
Mr. Brooke, the boy's tutor. Now I understand. Josephine spilled it all up to me the other day. You haven't gone and accepted him, child?
Hush, Auntie, he'll hear you. Shall I call Marmee?
Not yet. I have something to say to you, and I must free my mind at once. Do you mean to marry this Mr. Crook? For if you do, not one penny of my money will ever go to you. Remember that and be a sensible girl.
I shall marry whom I please, and you may leave your money to anyone you like.
Oh, well, young Miss March, is that how you take my advice? Well, you'll be sorry for it by and by when you've tried love in a cottage and found it a failure.
Love in a cottage can't be any worse than some people find in a big house.
Oh, tidy. Oh, don't be headstrong, girl. Be reasonable and take my advice. I mean it kindly. Don't spoil your whole life by making a mistake at the beginning. It is your duty to make a rich match and to help your family.
Papa and Mommy don't think so. They like John, though he's poor.
Your parents, my dear, have no more worldly wisdom than two babies. This Mr. Hook,
Brooke,
he hasn't any rich relations, has he?
he has many warm friends.
Oh, you can't live on warm friends. Try it and see how cool they grow. He hasn't any business, has he?
Mr. Lawrence is going to help him.
Oh, well, that won't last. Mr. James Lawrence is a crotchety old goat. So you intend to marry a man without money, position, or business, and to go on working harder than you do now, when you might be comfortable all of your days by minding me and doing better.
I couldn't do better if I waited half my life. John is good and wise. He's got heaps of talent, and he's willing to work, and he's sure to get on. He's so energetic and brave. Everyone likes him and respects him, and I'm proud to think he cares for me, the way I'm so young and silly and poor.
He knows you've got rich relations. That's the secret to his liking you.
How dare you say such a thing? My John is above such meanness, and I won't listen to a minute if you talk so. My John wouldn't marry for money more than I would, and we mean to wait, and we are willing to work. And I'm not afraid of being poor, though I've been happy so far. And I know I will be happy because he loves me, and
Oh, I wash my hands of the whole affair. You are a willful child and have lost more than you know by this folly. No, I shan't stay to visit. I'm disappointed in you, and I haven't the spirit to see your parents now. Don't expect anything from me when you're married, Margaret. I am done with you forever. Waiting in the wings, are you? Haven't you caused enough trouble already? Get out of my way.
Thank you for defending me, Meg. And thank you, Aunt March, for proving that you do care for me.
I didn't know how much until she abused me so.
And I needed to go away. I'm going to stay here and be happy.
Yes, John.
Sister Joe, congratulate us.
Papa! Marmee! Come quickly! John Brooke is acting dreadfully and Meg likes it! Meg's wedding was just like Meg herself, romantic and homemade. She stitched her own veil, and Lily of the Valley was the only flower she wore. Everybody came.
I've never seen such a want of dignity and good sense in all my days. Everyone squeezed into the parlor.
She tied John's tie, and they pranced about the house decorating it together.
The bride running about like a schoolgirl. The bridegroom hammering up the garlands. The both of them in full sight of each other, stealing kisses all about the house.
Papa performed the service himself. It was touching to hear him speak the words to give his own daughter away. John's voice was trembling so we could hardly understand him, but my sister said in the clearest voice,
I will.
Sniffles could be heard all about the room. Afterward, we had the best reception of cake and juice.
I sent over a dozen bottles of a very fine wine.
It was against our religion to drink spirits except for illness, so Papa sent all the wine to the soldiers' home.
Lemonade.
Thank you so much for coming, Aunt March, and for your generous gift.
I wish you well, Margaret. I heartily do wish you well. Though I do think you'll regret it. You have a treasure here. See that you deserve it, Mr. Rook.
Brooke.
A toast to Mr. and Mrs. John Brooke.
Mr. and Mrs. John Brooke.
is Byrne up here in the garret.
Oh, you startled me. I slipped into rather a vortex.
Oh, I shouldn't have disturbed you.
Oh no, I'm glad you did. This work makes me so cross.
But your stories are doing well.
Yes, but I'm having no end of trouble about my novel. I sent it off to 3 different publishers, and one said he would take a look at it on the condition I cut down 1/3, cutting down all the parts that I like. At this point, I don't know whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. What have you got there?
We've just received exciting news from Aunt March. She's going to Europe next month, and she's
She's invited me to go with her.
No, dear. She wants Amy.
What? Amy? Oh, Amy's far too young. It's my turn now. I've wanted this for so long.
I'm afraid it's impossible, Joe. Aunt March says Amy, and it's not for us to dictate.
It's not fair. Amy gets all the fun, and all I ever do is work.
Aunt March feels that Amy is more docile and will make a good companion. She regrets your blunt manners and independent spirit.
Oh, my tongue. How can I learn to keep it still?
Oh, try to bear it cheerfully and don't sadden Amy's pleasure.
I have to say, I've been scheming about going someplace myself.
Oh, you have?
Yes. I hit upon a pony scheme just the other day. I'm just longing to experience new things.
And where will you go?
New York.
New York City.
Don't you know your friend who owns the boarding house there?
Mrs. Kirk.
Didn't she write to you that she wished she had some respectable young person to teach her children how to read and write?
Yes, but to go out to service in that great big boarding house.
It's not exactly going out to service. Mrs. Kirk is your friend, and I know she'll make things pleasant for me.
And are these your only reasons for leaving?
No. I'm afraid Laurie has gotten too fond of me. He doesn't say much, but he stares a great deal. It's for his sake as well as mine.
Well, then I agree with you. You must enjoy your liberty until you tire of it. Only then will you find there is something much sweeter. I've made tea. Come and tell me all about this grand scheme of yours, and I will write to Mrs. Kirk if your heart is set on New York City.
It was settled. I was off to New York City. My dreams of becoming a great American author had finally began to become true. I was off to see the world, or as much of it as I could see from Mrs. Kirk's boarding house. Yes, I'm sure I went away for Laurie's sake as well as my own. He set straight away at his school books, but I'm sure it must have been a hard time for him. In a wink of his sisters, Meg, Jo, and Amy. Only Beth remained. Faithful to Papa and Marmee, her letters to me were full of cheer. But with each passing season, she became sicker. But she was still as sweet and kind as ever.
See here, 2 letters in one day. One from Jo and one from Amy.
Let me guess. Both are pining away for the old days with their beloved Laurie. Amy has bored his tears, talking about with Aunt March.
Amy writes about the glorious Italian sunlight and how she is filling sketchbook after sketchbook with the masterpieces she sees. I think she truly needs to become a great artist.
But Jo is callous within an inch of her life, trudging about the boarding house.
Jo does work hard, cooking and cleaning and teaching the children. But the Kirk's house is close to the shops, and they've given her a quaint room at the top of the house with a view of the entire city to inspire her. She goes on about church spires and sun on the rooftops.
She hasn't met anyone yet, has she?
She does write quite a bit about one guest in the boarding house. He's a funny old German professor.
Old? How old is he?
Oh, quite old. He's 40. Listen to how she describes him. He's got brown hair tumbled all over his head, a bushy beard, good nose,
the kindest eyes I've ever seen. He doesn't really have a handsome feature in his face, except his teeth. He's called Professor Bear, a name which suits him magnificently.
Good morning, Miss Marsh. Oh! That's right, son. She would get great haste to be going somewhere, no?
Yes, I have an appointment.
Oh, and these papers are of great importance to this appointment.
Yes.
May I know the nature of this appointment in these important papers?
Not so important, really. Just some scribbles and scratches.
Oh, yeah. I see that there's all of them. These are important, but not so important scribbles and scratches.
Thank you. Guten Tag, Herr Bear.
Well, we go through that much? My, what a lovely girl. Ah, Friedrich, you old goat, what are you thinking? Oh, Miss Marsh? Ah. Miss Marsh? Rodrigo plunged the dripping blade of the dreadful scimitar into the gizzard of the rising pirate king again and again and again. This is horrible. This is dreadful. Oh, no. This must never be.
Come in. What is it? Do you have the right address? This is the Weekly Volcano.
Yes, I know. You're Mr. Dashwood, aren't you?
I'm Dashwood. Who are you?
I've come about my story. That is, my friend's story.
We get lots of stories.
I was here just last week. Came in about a story which a friend of mine had written, but which he was too timid to submit himself.
I don't remember. What's the title?
The Shackled Corpse.
Oh, that one.
Yes, sir, the Shackled Corpse.
That was your story?
Yes, I mean my friend's story.
It's here somewhere. We'll take it.
You will?
If your friend doesn't mind a few alterations. It's too long. Cut out the parts I've marked.
All of that?
Should be enough.
Well, you might as well cut off the baby's legs to make it a cradle. And all of that at the end?
This is nothing but sermonizing.
But I thought every story should have a moral. I took a special care to make sure my sinners repent in the end. I mean, my friend took a special care to make sure repent.
Well, here's a lesson to take back to that friend of yours. People want to be amused, not preached at. Morals don't sell nowadays. They never have.
I see. Well, if my friend agrees to these conditions, what would you, that is, what would be the compensation?
$25 for this sort of thing.
Is that all, after all of this?
Well, miss, if you don't like it,
Very well. My friend agrees to let you have it and make the alterations you've indicated.
damn it. What name shall we use?
He doesn't wish his name to appear.
As he loves. We pay what is printed.
When will that be?
Can't say, but we'll let you know. Ah, wait. What's that?
Another story. Perhaps there's too much sermonizing.
That's all right. We'll cut that out. Morals don't sell nowadays.
Yes, sir.
Short and sensational. That's what people want.
Yes, sir, I understand.
Born up brown. All the same. The demons of Flint Street. Ugh. No. No.
The Weekly Volcano and I eventually struck up a business understanding. My stories earned a regular income that I sent back to help Papa and Marmy. I could never confess to my family that I sold sensation stories for money. That was my little secret. No one else even suspected.
Ah, rubbish. This is an outrage.
Well, almost nobody else suspected.
Oh, Miss Marsh, there you are. I must speak with Dear, I must speak with you in earnest.
What is it, Professor?
It is about this weekly volcano. Do you know something of this publication?
What's the matter, Professor?
I see you know nothing of this publication, or you would not ask me, what's the matter, Professor? For many weeks now, this newspaper comes into this house. It lies here on the parlor table. Have you never seen it?
What's the title?
I believe you are a writer, are you not?
I'm trying to be. Some people like my stories.
Yes, I have often seen you walking down by the newspaper offices.
Oh, you have?
I mention this only because I am certain you could share my concern. Look at this picture.
It's quite exciting.
A lunatic, a corpse, a villain, and a viper? Yeah, very exciting. And the story to go with this exciting picture.
Oh! Murder in the asylum.
Every week this paper prints such rubbish. It is criminal to show this by young children might see. I would rather give children gunpowder to play with than this rubbish for their young minds.
It might not be so bad, you know. Only silly. I think people know the difference. Readers want to be entertained, not preached at. Morals don't sell nowadays. Many respectable people earn a living on writing what are called sensation stories. There's a large demand for them.
There is a large demand for whiskey, too, but I do not think that you and I care to sell it. If these respectable people knew what harms they cause, they would rather sweep the streets. Please say you understand. I have a gift for you.
Shakespeare.
Weigh them, these two writers in your hat. Read this one, and he will help you to see the world and to draw it with your own dear pen.
Thank you, Professor. I shall.
I look forward with great pleasure to the many hours we will have to talk about what you read here today.
Oh, that will not be possible.
No?
No. I must return home.
Going home.
My sister Beth is very ill, and I'm sure I could be a comfort to her.
Going home. How fortunate that you have a home to go to. Well then, the Shakespeare must be a goodbye present.
No, not goodbye. Only Auf Wiedersehen. I want my family to know all about my friend.
Friend? Is it true? Shall I visit you someday and call you friend?
Come next month. Laurie graduates, and you could come visit us then.
Laurie. That is a devoted boy of whom you have spoken of so often.
Yes, I'm very proud of him.
I believe you have a great love for this Laurie.
Yes, he's the dearest friend I have.
I see. No, next month is too soon. I cannot travel then.
I promise you'll come sometime, for I can never thank you for all you've given me.
You will have no more volcanoes then, I think?
No, sir.
Good.
Will I see you at supper?
You have never known me to miss a meal.
See you then.
You can never read. I must hope after her no more.
Well, I'll be damned if I know how it happened, but you've grown into something like a man after all.
Thank you, sir.
To graduate with honors and to deliver the Latin oration to boot. I might have expected a brighter countenance on such a happy occasion. There's something on your mind, eh?
I suppose that's it. Yes, sir.
It's a time for many great decisions in a young man's life. It's one thing to have your grandfather and your professors setting the tune for you. It's quite another to set the tune for yourself. Might not be a bad idea to take some time off.
Laurie! Oh, I'm so happy to see you! I'm so proud of you!
You came!
I come rain or shine and play Hail the Conquering Hero Comes on a trumpet.
Are the others coming?
Yes, and there's hungry as an army.
Oh, excellent. I'll prepare the servants for the attack.
Where's that trumpet then?
No, Laurie, don't.
I will, and you must hear me. There's no use, Joe. We've got to have it out, and the sooner the better.
Say what you like then.
I've loved you ever since I've known you. I've tried to show it, but you never let me. And now that you're here, I'm going to make you hear me and give me an answer.
Lori, I tried to save you from this. I went to New York to keep you from this.
I knew that's why you went away, but it only made me love you more. And I hope you come to love me too.
Lori, I am very proud of you, and I am very fond of you. And I don't see why I can't love you the way you want me to, but I can't. And it would be a lie to say I do when I don't.
Please, Joe.
No, I would kill myself if it would do any good.
You love that old man, don't you?
What old man?
That old German professor you always wrote about.
I shall get very angry if you abuse Professor Bear. Professor Bear is good and kind, and the greatest friend I have next to you. But I haven't any idea of loving him or anybody else. I don't believe I ever shall marry, and the sooner you realize that, the better for both of us.
Oh, I know better. There will come a day when you will care for somebody and live and die for them, and I'll have to stand by and watch it.
Stop teasing for what I can't give to you.
You'll be sorry.
Lori, where are you going?
To the devil!
Lori didn't go to the devil. Lori's grandfather sent him to London. There, Lori caught up with Amy in Nice, where he mostly tried to win her sympathy for my rough treatment. But Amy, bless herself, had done some growing up of her own, and she'd have none of it. She called him Lazy Lawrence and sent him packing with instructions to become a man at last. Beth was home much of this time. A good companion to Papa and Marmee, her letters to me were full of cheer, and everyone thought her well again. Absence sharpens our eyes. And upon returning home, I saw the change in my sister that everyone else had clearly missed, for it's coming so gradually. Beth and I took a room for a week at the seashore. We lay upon the warm rocks, and the breeze put the blush of high roses back into Beth's. Oh, Beth,
I'm glad that you know at last, Joe.
how could you shut me out and bear it all alone?
It isn't hard to bear. Please, try to understand.
Is this why you were so ill last autumn? Did you feel bad and keep it to yourself?
Yes, I had given up hoping then.
Silly me. But you were pining after Lori. Well, you must get well. You will get well.
I want to, and I try, but every day I feel a little bit more go away from me, and I feel I shall never gain it back. It's like the tide, Joe. When it turns slowly, but it can't be stopped.
It must be stopped. It will be stopped. Your tide must not turn so soon.
I'm glad to go. I try to be willing. I have the feeling it was never intended that I should live long. I'm not like the rest of you. I never made any plans. I never thought of myself as married, and I couldn't imagine myself as anything but stupid little Beth, trotting about the house of no use anywhere but there. I never wanted to go, and the hard part now is that I'm leaving you all. I feel that I shall be homesick for you, even in heaven. Dear little bird, see how tame it is. I like the peeps better than the gulls. They are not so handsome, but prefer confiding in little things. Busy, Quaker-colored creatures, always near the shore, and always singing that contented tune of theirs. You are the gull, Joe, strong and wild, fond of the storm and the wind, flying out to sea and happy all alone. Meg is the turtle dove, and Amy is the lark, flying up among the clouds, but always returning home again. She's so ambitious, and her heart is so good, and no matter how high she flies, she will never forget home. I hope I will see her again, but she seems so far away.
She is coming in the spring, and I mean, I will have you well and rosy by then.
Joe, don't hope for me anymore. It won't do any good. I'm sure of that. We'll have happy times, and I don't suffer much. I think the tide will go out sooner if you help me.
just been so sad and lonely. I'm glad to see you. I wish I could comfort you, but I can only grieve myself.
You needn't say anything. It comforts me to know that Beth is at last well and happy. I mustn't wish her back, but it was so sudden. I never received the letter that said she was failing.
You be going home now?
No, next month is coming. Mommy wrote that since it was too late to say goodbye to Beth, remaining here in this beautiful place might help to soften my own sorrow. But I do dread going home. For I shall see Beth and miss her in every room of the house. We mustn't talk about it now, for it will make me cry again. I want to enjoy you while you're here. We need to go right back.
Not if you want me here.
You do so much.
Oh, little soul. You look as if you grieved yourself half sick. Don't cry anymore. I'm here to take care of you. Come, Mom.
At home, it seemed as if the fire had gone out in the hearth. Papa spent more time with his books. Marmee no longer sang as she worked. I spent a good deal of time up in the garret. Here, we had 4 chests where we stored our childhood memories. One particularly sad and lonely day, I decided to go through the memories of what was inside. I wrote a poem called In the Garret. My Beth, the dust is always swept from the lid that bears your name, as if by loving eyes that wept, careful hands that often came, your songs you sang without lament, in your prison house of pain. Forever are they sweetly blent in the falling summer rain. Joe, on the next lid, scratched and worn, and in this chest a motley store of headless dolls and schoolbooks torn. Oh, never mind this now, it's very bad poetry, too sentimental. But it seemed as if all the happy times we used to know were gone. Oh, I was so lonely. How I longed for someone to come into my life, to be my comforter.
Joe? Joe, where are you?
Laurie?
Are you still hiding up here in the dust and the cobwebs?
Laurie! Oh, I'm so happy to see you.
So you are glad to see me.
Yes. Words cannot express my gladness.
Meg's, Amy's got it Meg's. We dropped her off and I dare say we'll never get my wife out of their clutches now.
You're what? You and Amy, you've gone and got married?
Yes. Isn't it wonderful?
No, it's horrible. I swear, what, heaven's sakes on us, what dreadful thing will you do next?
Well, don't I look like a married man and the head of a family?
Not a bit, and you never will. You've grown bigger and bodier, but still the same steak grace as ever. No. What you've done, you've gone and spoiled your story from starting at the wrong end. Sit down and tell me how it happened properly.
Well, we saw each other from time to time, although mostly she only scolded me for sulking over you and picking up bad habits like smoking cigars.
Cigars, Laurie?
But once I heard about Beth, I went straight to Switzerland to find Amy and comfort her. I stayed several weeks. We took long walks in the countryside. We talked a good deal. We talked about the past. We talked about the future.
I can feel the moment approaching now. A rose garden, a chateau, moonlight.
It was a leaky rowboat, high noon. We took a picnic lunch on the lake. Amy offered to oar. I said I wasn't tired, but that she might take an oar next to me. Oh, we continued this way in silence, our oars perfectly matched. Finally, Amy said, how well we rowed together. And I said, so well, I wish we might always row in the same boat. Will you, Amy?
Oh, how melodramatic. Sounds like something I might have written.
Joe, I'd like to say one thing, and then we'll put it by forever. I never shall stop loving you, but that love is altered. You and Amy have changed places in my heart, and I see that it is better. Upon my word, I was so tumbled in my mind, I thought I could love you both alike. But now, I feel quite sure that I can love you both as Sister Joe and wife Amy. Will you believe it and go back to the happy old times when we first met one another?
I will believe it with all my heart. But we can never be boy and girl again. I shall miss my boy, but I will love the man as much. We can't be playmates any longer, but we can be brother and sister to love and help one another.
Joe?
Where is she? Where's my dear old Joe? Amy, this is Lori Lawrence.
Isn't it wonderful? Hurry, come tell your father.
No, it seems just like yesterday that I was buttoning your pinafore and pulling Lori's hair when he teased. I just can't make it true that you're married.
I never knew how much like heaven this world could be when two people love and live for one another.
Oh, well, you never looked better, either of you.
So say we all, eh?
Hurry, come surprise your father in the kitchen.
Papa? Papa, I'm home! An old maid. That's what I'm to become. I'll be a literary spinster with a pen for a spouse, some papers for children, and a morsel of fame when I'm too old to enjoy it, too solitary to share it, and too independent to need it.
Josephine, your sister's married the Lawrence boy.
Yes, Auntie, they're in the kitchen.
At least one of you was sensible and took my advice.
I dare say, solitary old women can get quite comfortable once they get used to it.
I'll get that. Joe, come in and join the fun.
Just coming.
Joe, it's someone for you.
Professor Bear.
I fear that I am the clumsy intruder.
Oh, no, this is a wonderful surprise. Have you met Lori?
He was kind enough to let me in.
Professor Bear, this is Lori, the dear friend of whom I spoke so often. Lori, this is my dear Professor Bear.
Yes, the gentleman about whom I've heard so many wonderful stories.
Happy to return the compliment, sir. I'm going to go join the others. Professor, please stay and join our celebration.
Come sit. Let me have a good long look at you.
But you have guests. I shall return another time, perhaps.
Oh, it's only family. We're celebrating the marriage of Lori to my sister Amy.
This young man, whom I had just met, this Lori, he has married your sister?
Yes.
Well then, I must stay and congratulate them both. Yes, I will most certainly stay and celebrate so fortunate a marriage. But you, Miss March, I think you have been ill?
No, not ill. We've just had such sorrow since I've seen you last.
Mrs. Carr told me of your grief. My heart has been sore for you.
What brought you here to me the moment I needed you the most?
I read this poem in the newspaper.
In the garret. I wrote this on a particularly sad day when I was looking through our childhood memories.
By the names, I knew it was yours at once. The last verse, the one about yourself, is called to me.
Joe, on the next lid, scratched and worn. And within this chest a motley store of headless dolls, schoolbooks torn, of birds and beasts that speak no more, half-writ poems, stories wild, April letters warm and cold, diaries of a willful child, hints of a woman early old, a woman in a lonely home, hearing like a sad refrain, be worthy, love, and love will come in the fall of the summer rain. It's very bad poetry, but I felt it when I wrote it.
I read that and I think to myself, she may find comfort in my love. I have a heart that is so full for her. Shall I not go to her and say, if it is not too poor a thing to take, please take my love?
It is not too poor a thing. It is the one thing I truly need.
Oh, you fill me with such hope and courage. I fear I have nothing to give in return but this full heart and these empty hands.
Not empty anymore. We'll have no more sad poetry. Come, I want you to meet everyone. Papa, Marmy, this is my dear Professor Bear. There's ever so much more I could tell you about Professor Bear and me. About how we were married and started a school. And, there I go, starting at the wrong end. That'll have to be for another time. Well, that's my story about my sisters and me. Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy. Our scrapes and sorrows, our laughters and loves. We weren't always as sweet-tempered as the girls you'd read about in storybooks. We were just struggling human girls, you know, like hundreds of others. And my best story, after all, was not one I had written, but of our own true lives. But, oh, my children, however long you may live, I can never wish you any greater happiness.